Hey everyone, and welcome to Boston Autoblog. It's unfortunate to see that in 2021, brands are not really focusing a lot of time and energy on family sedans, and that's to be expected. Sales have dropped, and Americans prefer buying crossovers. Out of all the remaining cars in this segment, it's the Toyota Camry that to me stands out quite a bit, as it looks aggressive, it looks sporty, and really when you look at the features that Toyota is offering for the 8th generation, it's one car that actually is still appealing and desirable in this decade. It could be argued that Toyota's involvement in NASCAR has actually saved this vehicle from extinction and sharing the same fate as other vehicles in this segment. Because when you look at sales figures, they haven't dropped quite as much as we're seeing from the Honda Accord, Chevrolet Malibu, and Nissan Altima. But also, Toyota understands what Americans want in a vehicle and a brand for 2021. So they've given us a Toyota Supra, GT86, even the Toyota Sienna looks very aggressive and sporty. But when you look at the Camry, you have features that we just don't see very often in this segment. So you have optional all-wheel drive, you have an optional V6 engine, you have an 8-speed automatic transmission, which is unheard of from a Japanese manufacturer. Also, they've made the hybrid engine more available in this lineup, so now you can go with the hybrid with the XSE. These are just things that we just don't see right now in this particular segment, and that's why the Toyota Camry is still very popular in this country. So in this video, we're going to take a good long look at the Toyota Camry XSE, see how it compares to other vehicles in its segment, and also see why, if you are reluctant to buy a crossover, taking a look at the Toyota Camry, specific in XSE, might be a great decision. Now before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Ira Toyota in Danvers, Massachusetts for allowing me to do this review. The link will be in the description below so you can check out their extensive Toyota inventory. And so, without wasting any further time, let's get right in this review. As consumers' demands for vehicles continues to evolve, the sedan segment has experienced a tumultuous time in the US over the last 20 years, losing quite a bit of market share to crossovers, as Americans prefer the practicality and overall value they provide. Yet even in 2021, there's still a decent amount of buyers who prefer the affordability of family sedans. And with brands adapting to the changes the automotive industry has experienced as of late, these iconic daily drivers have improved in more ways than one to become viable options among consumers who don't need a compact crossover. The only question that remains is whether manufacturers like Toyota and Honda have done enough to these cars where they're appealing, while also offering the very best when it comes to comfort and technology features. Starting off with pricing, the Toyota Camry XSE all-wheel drive comes in at $31,820, sitting at the top of the trim levels for non-V6 models. New for 2021 is the ability to opt for all-wheel drive, which is not only a first for the Camry, but is certainly a game changer in the compact sedan market, as many competitors are still front-wheel drive only. Another improvement is that Toyota has emphasized the availability of hybrid engines for more trims, including the XSE, to better compete against the Honda Accord. While unfortunately you can't pair all-wheel drive with the hybrid motor at the moment, offering these two key elements has paid immediate dividends, as Toyota has become the unopposed leader in this segment here in the US. And some of that can be attributed to the aggressive and sporty design for the current generation Camry that differs greatly from the less inspiring alternatives. There is no doubt that Toyota's growing involvement in motorsports and NASCAR has led the brand in a whole new direction that embraces performance and more streamlined appearances. In fact, it was the Camry back in 2017 that kickstarted the manufacturer's return to prominence among enthusiasts. And despite not much changing to the overall design for the 8th generation, the front fascia is still inspiring and has aged pretty gracefully over the last 4 years. The combination of gloss black accents, a mesh front grille, and supersonic red paint color brings out the best in the overall design for the Camry, despite the side air vents not being functional. The body lines and more aerodynamic styling is what you expect from far more expensive sports sedans, and its presence on the road is truly inspiring to stare at. To help illuminate dimly lit back roads, while at the same time giving the Camry a mature look, will be LED headlights, which come standard for the XSE. Moving over to the side profile, The XSE trim will be equipped with 19-inch gloss black alloy wheels, once again contrasting very nicely with the body color. You'll also have folding side mirrors with turn signal indicators, and for added safety, you will have blind spot detection. Then coming around to the back, you're met with a sleeker rear fascia than in past generations, as the Camry looks good from pretty much any angle, and that's not something an enthusiast like myself would have said about this car 5 to 10 years ago. With the subtle deck lid spoiler, quad exhaust outlets, and a body color painted rear diffuser, you get the sense that you're staring at a sports sedan, and arguably a more expensive car at that. Just like up front, you will have LED taillights to give this sedan a bit more of an upscale look. Under the hood, the Toyota Camry in this video is powered by a naturally aspirated 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine that puts out 205 horsepower and 185 pound-feet of torque, and is paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission. It should be noted that along with the hybrid variant, Toyota offers a 3.5-liter V6 engine that will not only be more engaging to drive, but provides a healthy increase of performance to 301 horsepower and 267 pound-feet of torque. Drawing a lot of praise by consumers is that Toyota did not go with the CVT for their fully gas-powered model, and instead gave us a true automatic, which is a bit uncharacteristic in the modern age for a Japanese manufacturer. The point of CVTs is to make cars more efficient, but once again, Toyota has you covered there. As for fuel economy, you can expect to receive right around 25 miles per gallon in the city and 34 miles per gallon on the highway. Stepping inside, you greet by power adjustable heated leather seats for both the driver and passenger, with the option to have those seats be ventilated as well. The interior itself isn't going to necessarily blow you away by any means. However, its simplistic and comfortable design does create a nice driving environment, especially if you're using the Camry as your daily driver. You can opt for a panoramic moonroof, which will brighten up the interior, and there will be available tech features such as a heads-up display. In front of you, between the analog gauges, you will have a digital display which will show a variety of information. And it's from this screen where you can activate and deactivate safety systems, which we recommend keeping on for that peace of mind every time you get behind the wheel. Then moving over to the infotainment system, you will have a 9-inch touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility. And for our model, we did have the optional onboard navigation system. Toyota's user interface is certainly not the most in-depth in this segment or on the market in general, but it's very easy to use, and with quick access buttons found on either side of the touchscreen, you can get to the desired menus efficiently. Also, you will have physical dials for volume and tuning. Of course, you will have a backup camera with trajectory, and for a better field of vision, you can switch to a 180-degree view for when you back out of parking spots. And with the driver assistance package, you'll have reverse automatic braking and a top view camera for additional safety. Below, you'll find the buttons and dials for your dual zone climate control and front and rear defrosters. And as we work our way towards the center console, there will be a wireless phone charging pad, a USB input, and 12-volt outlet. Then, next to the gear shift lever, you'll have a drive mode selector, which does affect throttle response and steering input. But since this Camry does not have a V6, I found that normal mode better suited this car's personality. Also here will be the buttons for your 3-level heated seats. And rounding out the front seating area, for the center storage compartment, there will be enough room for smaller items. Now for passengers in the back, we're going to start off on the driver's side, and this seat is adjusted to someone of my height around 5'5", and I have a good amount of legroom to work with here. Now obviously, if you're looking for something a little more practical and spacious, you're going to want to go with the RAV4, but this is significantly better than the Toyota Corolla. Now, of course, I know a lot of people love their Corollas, and most likely they don't have people in the second row at all times, but if you are looking for a car that you do need to have maybe your 8 or 9-year-old kid that you're driving to school every single day, this would most certainly work. You have a lot of legroom to work with here, and also when it comes to headroom, it's better than the Corolla. So even though we don't have that higher roof line like we would see in a crossover, it's still pretty spacious. So I think if you're on maybe 5'8", 5'9", I think it could most certainly work for you. Now for the center seat, There is a very aggressive center hump, which does impede a bit when it comes to legroom. So as I always feel with vehicles of this size, you're probably going to want to just fit 2 people back here. You know, trying to fit 3 people across is going to be pretty difficult. Now, also, of course, shoulder room is going to be the issue overall. Even if you want to squeeze somebody in here, it will get very claustrophobic pretty quickly. So even though you can have that third person on very rare occasions, I would recommend just keeping 2 people back here if you are going on a longer drive. And then on the passenger side, this seat is adjusted further back. It's also somewhat on a recline, and I still have a few inches of legroom to work with here. And again, we're going to go back to having people in the second row. I think it's perfect if you're maybe Ubering, or you have kids, of course, in the back and you're taking them to school. This would most certainly work for sure. Also back here, what you are going to notice is that just like with other vehicles in the Toyota lineup, is that the second row seats actually sit a bit lower, so it maximizes headroom, and if you are taller, you can sit back here more comfortably. And that's really great to see, because I understand it's 2021, a lot of people prefer buying a RAV4 or crossovers in general, and they don't really look at buying a sedan and thinking that it's going to be a practical car for them. But in 2021, you definitely have enough room for the second row seats where you can fit average size adults. Then you will have 2 rear air vents. Of course, there won't be 3-level heated outboard seats or a USB or 12-volt outlet, which that's to be expected. We just don't see that right now in the automotive industry at this price range and segment, so I wouldn't be too concerned about that. And then rounding out the rear seating area, you do get a center armrest with 2 cup holders. Now, taking a look at rear cargo space, you're going to receive right around 15.1 cubic feet of rear cargo room behind the second row seats, which is pretty much on par with every single sedan in this segment. It's identical to the Subaru Legacy and also the Nissan Altima, but a little bit behind the Honda Accord, which is to be expected since the Accord does have more of that sportback-like roofline. Now, this is plenty of room for groceries, my camera gear, or smaller items. You could fit about maybe 2 to 3 bags of luggage if you are going on a road trip with the family. But this right here is why you'd want to upgrade to a Camry over a Corolla. Now, I understand that most likely, if you are seriously looking at buying a Corolla, you're probably not looking at an XSE trim for the Camry. But either way, whether you're looking at both vehicles, I think the Camry is better overall if you do have a family or you just need that extra practicality. There's a lot more room here, it's spacious, and also it's pretty wide. So definitely keep that in mind. I understand that a lot of people do like crossovers now, but if you are strictly looking at a sedan, the Camry is most certainly a practical car. Also back here, you will have quick release latches, and by pulling on them, you can then go to the second row seats and fold them automatically and without any effort. So that's really great to see. But overall, I think you can fit longer items. So from a daily driver standpoint, the Camry is still practical in 2021. Obviously, if you do have boxes and bigger stuff with you at all times, then you're going to want to go with a RAV4. But if that's not what you're looking for, then I think the Camry is still a great car to buy today. All right, so let's take the Toyota Camry XSE 4-cylinder out for a test drive to see how it performs, how it handles, and really see why this sedan right here is the king of the family sedan market. So starting off with front vision, you have plenty of it. A-pillars are actually super thin, so there's not many blind spots in front of you. Also, of course, you will have that rear backup camera with trajectory and rear cross traffic alert. What really stands out to me about 5 minutes into the test drive is really how solid this car really feels. It's nice and soft, but also you do feel a sense of being planted to the road, and I like that. Even though this is not a V6 or more of that aggressive TRD model, it's still great to see. I feel very in control of this car. Now, when it comes to steering input, it has a nice weight to it, so it's not too light at all. You can maneuver this car around really well, and that's what I'd be looking for sure if I was looking to buy a family sedan. So let's get on the highway here. Let's see how the Camry performs, how it handles. So that was redlining right around 7,000 RPM. And even though this is not a sports car, it gets up to speed pretty quickly. So even though it's not the V6 engine, that's completely okay. But you definitely have that passing power. You can get on the highway quickly and safely, and that's great to see. Now, one thing I really like about the Camry, even though it does not have sports tuned suspension, is that you do feel very planted to the road. So you have a nice, feeling behind the wheel. It corners really well, and it's a really great place to be at all times, and I like that. A lot of cars, especially in this price range, aren't going to feel that great. They're going to feel pretty cheap on the interior. This feels pretty nice. Now on the highway, it's actually really nice and quiet in here. Road noise is kept to a minimum, so the Toyota Camry is pretty well insulated. Now, of course, this is the XSE trim, so you're sitting a little higher up in the lineup, so that's to be expected. The materials are going to be a little higher quality, but this is great to see. Also, the way this vehicle drives, the way it handles, this is actually really nice. It's inspiring, more importantly, just because we have an 8-speed automatic, no CVT. Now, I do have to say this though, this is a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated engine, and I think the 8-speed pairs up pretty well with this. Of course, it's not going to be aggressive shifts. It's not going to be what you experience with a sports car with maybe a dual clutch transmission or a ZF 8-speed, but it's very nice to drive. It's pairs very well with the sport mode as well. I like sport mode with this car. Gear shifts become a little more aggressive, and also throttle response is nice as well. Now, from a safety aspect, and this is actually really good if you have a younger driver in the family, is that lane centering is very aggressive. So if you do move over to the line a bit, it forces you right back into the center of the lane. That is perfect, because if you do have that younger driver, they might be looking at their phone, which is not safe at all, but you have that peace of mind knowing that they're not going to get themselves into trouble. Toyota safety systems are really great, and I think that even if you are a younger driver and you want that peace of mind, Toyota has you covered there. Also, when it comes to interior comfort, it's really nice in here. Even though they use more of a leatherette-like material for their top trims, it's not that bad. It actually provides a good amount of support. Not aggressively bolstered, and that's to be expected just because this is not a sports car whatsoever, but still a very nice cabin, a nice place to be. Gives you a really nice driving environment, and that's what I'm looking for as someone who does prefer driving, that enjoys driving, and not really using these vehicles as an A to B. But even if you are using that for just an A to B car, it's a great place to be. It's very comfortable. You want to be behind the wheel for longer drives. Now, since we are at a red light, I might as well go over the interior layout, even though we do not have the moonroof cam for this video. What I really like is that this infotainment system does lean a bit towards you. So the buttons that are on the far right are very easy to access. You don't need to really reach for them. Also, what you'll notice too is that you do have physical buttons and dials for your climate control settings and the volume and tuning knobs. That's exactly what people are looking for in this price range. They don't really want the more technological stuff that we're seeing with luxury brands right now, or even brands like Subaru. They're going more for a buttonless layout, but I think this translates very well with buyers in this segment. Now, unfortunately, with everyone back on the road, you now have people who are afraid to get on the highway, and that does create a bit of a safety issue, especially if someone in front of you stops on an on-ramp. What I like about the Camry, even with the 4-cylinder, it has enough power to get you on the highway safely, and you don't need to worry about getting yourself into trouble. I like that, although I would prefer going with the V6 engine for sure. What I think buyers are going to like the most, though, is that it's simplistic. The car performs exactly as you expect it to. It has a nice performing 8-speed automatic transmission. Gear shifts are smooth. The car is quiet. The car performs well when you accelerate. When you go on the highway, you don't need to worry about getting yourself into trouble. You can get on safely. You can pass slower drivers with ease. That's what buyers are looking for. And also, when it comes to just the interior quality and comfort, this is just a great place to be. And really, this is pretty impressive for a Toyota Camry. Now, my only issue that I have with this car is the braking power. I wish the brakes had a little more grab to them. And of course, this is to be expected. I come from a car and drive a car on a daily basis that has sports brakes. So I'm used to having, some brakes that respond really well. But I wish I didn't have to get too much into the brake pedal to stop this car, even at 30 miles an hour. That's just something I don't like. But overall, I think what Toyota has done here is that they've given us a car that is a great daily driver, that is comfortable, that's efficient, and if you want to have that extra performance, you can go with that with the V6. But really, to me, what stands out the most, though, is the features more so than the driving experience, because you have the optional hybrid, you have an optional V6, you have an optional all-wheel drive, and we just don't see that in this segment, and that's why Toyota is leading when it comes to sales. That's what buyers are looking for. They're not looking for something that's aggressive, something that's going to put you back in your seat. They're looking for a great daily driver that is going to get them to their destination safely and comfortably, and that's exactly what the Camry is offering. But that's why I feel with this car that Toyota has done an amazing job with the Camry. They've given us enough to work with where if you are looking at buying, say, a Nissan Altima, Honda Accord, or Chevrolet Malibu, you feel as though that the Camry is going to be a better option at the end of the day, just because Toyota's really focused on the smaller details with this car. It's not going to be a dull or boring driving experience. You're going to have that power even with the 4-cylinder. You have the 8-speed automatic, but also it's a great place to be at all times. And that's something we just can't say for most competitors. And also another thing too is that Toyota's really focusing on those smaller details. They're actually at least giving some effort and some thought into the Camry when it comes to interior quality and refinement, but also the technology as well. And when you look at a car that's selling around 300,000 units per year, Toyota knows that this car is really important in the lineup, despite the fact that the RAV4 is more popular and that people in general are looking at crossovers, but there's still a good amount of Americans looking at a family sedan, and this is one of the best you're going to find at around $30,000. So at the end of the day, I think what we can conclude here is that what Toyota has done to the 8th generation Camry over the last 4 years is that they've made owning a family sedan still appealing in 2021. And we just don't see that anymore in the automotive industry. A lot of brands are focusing on crossovers, and rightfully so. That's where the sales are, that's where the money is. So I get that. But Toyota has really given us some features that a lot of brands aren't giving us, and that is all-wheel drive. And that's huge for people up here in New England, where we do encounter some snowy winters. So it's great to see that Toyota is thinking about us as well, and I think that definitely plays a role in the sales figures as well, because in 2020, even during a down year, they sold around 300,000 of these in the United States, and that is great to see, even when a lot of people are focusing on buying RAV4s or CRVs. And Honda just did not have the same luck, and that's because they don't really offer all-wheel drive. They don't give us a V6. They don't give us anything that really is going to draw in enthusiasts or younger buyers. And Toyota, on the other hand, has been really focusing on that over the last, I'd say, 5 to 6 years, where now you have the GT86, you have the Supra, you have a V6 under the hood of the Camry. These are just, features and models that we don't see across the board for Japanese manufacturers. Also, more importantly, no CVT, at least for this particular model. We have an 8-speed automatic, and Americans love that. They don't like CVTs. So we're starting to see Americans really respond to what Toyota has done here with this car. And in 2021, I still think, even though it's not as practical as a crossover, it's still a great daily driver in this day and age. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. Also, make sure to follow me on Instagram at Boston Autoblog so you can see what I'm up to and what vehicles I'll be featuring in the future. And I will see you guys next time.